The water's cold.
It's a fjord. You're not going swimming.
Boo. You're such a wet blanket, teddy bear.
You know I don't like it when you call me...
Edward Charles Harden, Esquire.
Will you promise to behave on land?
Don't I always?
Lissie, promise.
Oh, piffle and phonus balonus, Teddy. You ought to know better than to ask. Yes, I'll behave. I'll be a proper young lady. I shan't run or climb things or laugh too loud or call anyone old bean. Aside from you.
Well, what did he expect? In Draugen, we, you as Edward, accompanied by Lissie, visit the beautiful place Gravik to look for our sister Betty. Gravik is a small place somewhere in Norway, where so few people go there that there is no connection to the outside.
The telegraph is out of order.
Well, there goes my plan. NOSOS.
This was 2 years ago, but the notice is still up.
How can it take 2 years to get something like that fixed?
If they couldn't afford it? Or couldn't get anyone to come fix it?
Well, this place really is off the map. Here be dragons. Or Draugens, I guess.
We ourselves are here on an invitation from the Fredericks, but, and this should not surprise anyone, there is no one here. Not only the Fredericks, but nobody at all. The whole village is deserted. We are alone. So it's time to get to the bottom of this, although Edward doesn't really want this. For him, the first priority is his sister, but thank God Lissie's with him, otherwise a good story would have slipped through our fingers. And at this point it should be clear, Draugen is a walking simulator, but a very good one. So if you're looking for a game with many interaction possibilities, a great gameplay or puzzles, then you're in the wrong place with Draugen. The only thing that distinguishes Draugen from a movie are the occasional small choices, like choosing an answer or choosing where to go next. And of course that you go yourself. But that's really all there is. I have no problems with that, because I love walking simulators, and Draugen belongs to the very good ones in his discipline. Even if there's no such thing as riddles, I really didn't miss them. The most difficult thing in the complete game was collecting pieces of paper in a small church. And before the game consists only of such contents, then I'd rather have something like an interactive movie, because if walking simulators don't offer puzzles and a great gameplay, then they must have strength others. For me, a great atmosphere and a good story are very important in most single players. That's exactly what Draugen can score with. It's a well-written mystery story that never gets boring. That could be because the game is only about 3 hours long, but that is enough. I'd like to say that the length of the game depends on your urge to explore, as I read it before, but no, not really. There's not so much to explore. But still, the fun of exploration must be there. Only the game world is not very large and everything interesting was seen relatively fast. There's also backtracking, but for me personally within a very acceptable framework, whereby one can also see that differently. But also running through the game world was never boring for me. Back to the story. As I said, it's written very well. There's a great mystery built around the village and the disappearance of the people, and at the end it's answered very satisfying. But you have to like interpretable stories. I say that in the end a lot of things will be solved, but there's one detail that I don't think has been answered yet. Maybe I just overlooked or misunderstood something, but anyway, it's only a detail. Besides, the story can be surprising. At least I'm sure some people might. That what I mean is, well, I suspected it early on, but that could also be because I already knew roughly what the subject matter was, only in broad outlines, but that was enough. Although it wouldn't have surprised me if I was wrong. And I mean topic, not the story.
It was dark. Maybe I just saw a shadow.
Chasing a shadow. That's very unlike you, old boy. Usually you scurry off in the opposite direction.
I didn't get a good look. I'm not even sure there was anyone there.
Oh, there must be someone here. And I'm not talking about ghosts. Or goats. What was it you said yesterday? Maybe they're peeking at us through the windows.
I'll take a gander. The Fretlands will be home soon. And Betty's here. I know it. I feel it.
If you say so, teddy bear. Have you had your noodle juice yet?
I'm not rummaging through their cupboards.
You'll be a pill without your tea and toast, old bean. We need to get you sorted.
I'm not hungry. First point on the agenda. Find the natives.
A mission! Hot dog! I'll scout ahead. I'll meet you down by those houses.
Because I also have a point of criticism about that. I have to be very vague about it, otherwise it could be seen as a spoiler and the surprise of the story is missing. The actual topic the game might want to deal with is not really dealt with as I would have wished. Rather, this was used as framework story, into which the story fits well, so maybe the criticism is also a little bit pointless because the developers never had the goal to go too much into depth. But that it doesn't change the fact that the story is very great, and that's the important thing for me. What else is important? The soundtrack, of course. Well, it can be important. I mean, some games don't use music at all and let the game world affect you through its sounds. That's the case in Draugen in very many places. But then there's the music, and it's so beautiful. I'm listening to the soundtracks as I write this, so if you like to listen to quiet music, for example while reading or learning, then try this one. With me, the music ends up in a playlist. But the best is at the end. Maybe you already noticed it in the opening scene, but maybe it only becomes apparent with the time of playing. Lissie, our constant companion, seems incredibly alive. When it comes to credible characters, a lot of games failed and others manage to satisfy us, so we can say, great characters with depth. But Draugen proves how much potential there is, and this applies to almost all games. Every conversation with her is a pleasure of playful art. No dialogue seems forced or unnatural. It seems as if you really have something alive in front of you, with all those feelings and thoughts. This gives Lissie so much more depth than most characters in other games, movies or series. She isn't just an appendage, but rather the opposite. Sometimes she directs us in one direction or another. She shows at many points that she has her own head, she fools around, runs ahead, stays behind thoughtfully. Something like that.
Well, it's a bright and beautiful day, and we have nothing better to do.
What on earth are you doing?
Handstands, Teddy! My record is 2 minutes. I'm working on 3. Just go on ahead. I'll catch up.
As if there was much more of the person Lissie than is told or shown about the game. Edward also has a share in this. The conversations between the two give you the feeling that they have known each other for years and therefore talk to each other in such a familiar and casual and natural way. However, you also have to listen a little bit closer. Important information falls casually in the conversations, just as it is normal between familiar people. But for us as players who have no idea, it gets harder. I'm repeating myself with this, but also because of this the characters seem very credible. That's because of the incredibly great dialogues, as I said before, but they wouldn't be anything without this fantastic voiceover. Only through the voice the characters comes to life, and without going into details, it's incredibly well done. But without Lissie, Draugen would probably be quite boring, despite the good story. If you like relaxing walking simulators, then Draugen is a recommendation either way. And maybe it can also serve as a good introduction for those who haven't had much to do with walking simulators yet. But it's Lissie who makes it a must for fans, because Draugen has something that almost no other game has.